Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Near Southeast Area Plan Community Workshop. We'll get started here in a few minutes, give folks a chance to join. So just sit tight for a minute. Thanks.
Hi, Paul.
Greetings. Good evening. How are you?
Excellent.
Haven't seen you in a little while, Dean.
Pleasure to see you too.
Nice balmy day, huh?
Well, I guess one good thing is that there's a lot of moisture and we've needed it for an awful long time. So it's hard to have a grass fire in your backyard.
That'd be true.
For those of you who've just joined, welcome. We'll get started here in just a minute once we get a few more people on. And thanks again, everyone, for who's just joined. We'll get started here in just a minute. All right, let's go ahead and get started. Probably have a few more people straggling in, but that's fine. Welcome everybody to the Near Southeast Area Plan Community Workshop 2 for this phase of the planning process. Tonight we'll be focusing on mobility and parks issues. Few administrative things here to start off with. We will have plenty of time for discussion later in the meeting, but we've got some stuff we want to go through here at the beginning. So if everyone can keep themselves muted so we can get through that quickly. And then, like I said, plenty of time for discussion once we get into the later part of the meeting. If you have any issues or technical problems, you can use the Q&A or the chat and somebody should be able to help you out with any of those things. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like our interpreter has joined us yet, but they should hopefully be on soon. So if anybody needs interpretation, let us know and we can get you connected to the Spanish interpretation once we have that ready. With that, I'd like to hand it over to Councilman Paul Cashman to say a few words.
Oh, well, thank you, Scott. Yeah, I just want to welcome everybody. Thanks for taking the time to participate in the Near Southeast Planning Initiative. I want to welcome, acknowledge Councilwoman Amanda Sawyer from District 5 is with us tonight, as well as representatives from Councilwoman Black's office. I just think this is a great opportunity to have your voice heard, to create a plan that serves your neighborhoods well in the coming decades. And looking forward to the discussion tonight.
Great, thank you, Councilman. And with that, let me share the agenda. So tonight, once we get through the welcome stuff, I'm going to go over some stuff about the plan briefly. So what is the Near Southeast plan for those of you who haven't been participating so far or who maybe have forgotten? Talk a little bit about what we've done so far and then what we'll be working on next. And then we will go into breakout discussions by neighborhood, where you'll get a chance to answer some questions and have discussions with your neighbors about some specific topics. So with that, getting into what is the Near Southeast Area Plan. It is a new planning effort covering 5 neighborhoods in Southeast Denver: Washington, Virginia Vale, Virginia Village, Indian Creek, Goldsmith, and University Hills North. That's University Hills north of Yale Avenue. So the boundaries are roughly Alameda Avenue on the north and Yale Avenue on the south, and Colorado Boulevard on the west, and Quebec Street and the city boundary on the east. So that is what we're talking about when we talk about the Near Southeast Area Plan. So what is a plan? Why do we do plans? A plan is a policy document adopted by the city that sets a vision for an area, in this case, Near Southeast, and lays out strategies and recommendations for achieving that vision based on the community's needs and concerns. So it should address what the community would like the area to be over, typically we look at 20 years or so. So our planning horizon for this plan is 2040. We're looking at how can we improve Near Southeast over the next 20 years. Plans set priorities and inform decision-making, both by the city and by private property owners, but they don't change regulations. They don't change zoning. They don't establish budgets or go into detailed engineering for design projects. All of those things come after a plan. The plan can recommend doing those things, but the plan itself does not achieve those things. Specifically, neighborhood or small area plans, which is what Near Southeast plan is, do those things at the sort of neighborhood or small area level. So looking in detail at a specific part of the city, as opposed to our citywide plans, like Comprehensive Plan 2040 or Blueprint Denver, which set policies for the entire city. This plan will take those citywide goals and policies and apply them specifically to Near Southeast and say, how can we achieve those? What do they mean for this part of town? They also deal with a wide variety of topics as opposed to some of our topic-specific citywide plans. And so they must be consistent with those citywide plans, but they can update those in limited ways. And they provide that guidance and recommend those capital projects and investments in the area. The Near Southeast Plan is part of our Neighborhood Planning Initiative, or NPI, which is a program to get these neighborhood plans for the entire city over the next 10 to 15 years. So as part of that, we have a set menu of what goes into plans, what we call our always topics, that include that vision from the community of what they would like the area to be in 2040, and how we're going to make sure that the plan is equitable and that it is implemented to create an equitable city and an equitable Near Southeast. It also includes topic-specific recommendations for the entire area. We generally group those into 4 buckets. So land use and built form is what gets built where and what uses are allowed where. What do those things look like? And then we have housing and economy, so affordable housing and businesses and workforce, things like that. Mobility, how you move around the area. And then what we call quality of life infrastructure, which is a sort of broad topic that includes things like parks and landscaping and health. So those, like I said, are for the entire neighborhood or the entire area. And then each neighborhood will have its own chapter in the plan where we'll be able to address each neighborhood's specific issues. So we know that different neighborhoods have different needs and different issues they're facing. So we want to be able to address each of those separately in the neighborhood section. And then finally, implementation. How will we prioritize these recommendations and how will we accomplish them to implement the plan? So that's what goes into every plan, but we know not every area has the same issues. So we also have focus topics, which can be flexible based on what we hear from the community, what they want the plan to address. So those can be things like food access or parking or other topics that are different issues in different parts of town. The plan process should take about 2 years. We kicked it off in July of last year with the first phase, understanding the area, which I'll talk about a bit more in a minute. And then we're now moving into the second phase, where we will take what we learned in the first phase, really try to understand the issues and opportunities in the area, and start to develop those recommendations that will go into the plan. That's what we'll be working on in phase 2. We'll take what we get out of phase 2 and create draft recommendations, which we will share again with the community in phase 3. Get your feedback on those, improve those, and then take those and create a draft plan document in phase 4. Again, share that with the community, get input, improvements on that before we have a document that we can take through the adoption process with planning board and city council in that final 5th phase. So to break things up a little bit and provide a little interest, we're going to do a little icebreaker question. So give me just a moment while I switch screens here. All right, just for a bit of fun, hopefully you're seeing the right thing here. Yeah. So we're going to be using this Poll Everywhere software tonight. So to try it out, go to pollev.com on your phone or open up a new browser tab on your computer, pollev.com/KHA1. And you should see these options. Tell us what your favorite ice cream flavor is. You got 6 options there. Just want to test this out and see what we get back. Looks like a couple people have gotten it started there. If you're having any issues with it, you can put a request in the chat or the Q&A, and we should be able to help you out. What do we get here? Looks like a lot of others so far. Things are bouncing around still. A lot of mint chocolate chips too. Nobody's picking vanilla. Oh, there we go. I guilted some folks into picking vanilla. That's good.
We're a diverse community here.
That's good to know. Yes, diverse in all sorts of ways, including preferred ice cream flavors. All right. Thanks everybody for indulging us on this. Like I said, we're going to be using this tool later in the meeting, so just wanted to test it out and provide a little fun here to break up my otherwise somewhat dry presentation. So with that, we will switch back over, and I will go into what we've done so far. So like I said, the first phase of the plan was understanding the area. So we wanted to understand from the community, from you all, how you view the area, what you like and dislike. You guys are the experts on your community. So we wanted to hear from you what's working, what doesn't work, what you would like to see improved, what you would like the area to be like in 2040. Identify the major issues that the plan should address and the major opportunities. And then also make sure that our engagement strategy for this plan reflects what works for this community. So we shared our draft engagement strategy and got feedback on that to make sure we're doing the right things. Like I said, that started in July. The public engagement process ran through September. We did a variety of things, including having a community kickoff meeting on Zoom, similar to this one, had an online survey that people could take, got out into the community at some events and did some pop-up things. Also did some focused engagement. There are segments of the community that we know traditionally do not participate in these types of planning efforts. So we wanted to make sure that we were reaching out to them and giving them an opportunity to participate. Also met with some stakeholders, property owners, business owners, things like that in the area to get their views. Overall, we got pretty good participation. We were fairly happy with what we heard from the community, the number of people that took our survey and things like that. Again, we know there are some gaps. We've identified throughout this, we sort of tracked who we heard from, identified who we weren't hearing from, and we will continue to work on reaching those segments of the community that have not been participating as much so far. We also, while that was going on, did some existing conditions work. So pulling existing data and analysis to understand the area. We put together a briefing book, which is a compilation of a whole bunch of maps and charts summarizing near Southeast. We also did what we call a neighborhood pattern analysis, looking at sort of the form of houses and commercial buildings in the area, and looking at what's similar and different between different parts of near Southeast to understand the neighborhood pattern. We also had historic context created, which look at the history of development in the area, so we understand how things have changed over time in these areas. And then we also did a mobility study and a market and housing study to understand those topics in more detail, dive into the details, and have some projections about what we expect in the near future on those. All of those are available on the website if you want to look at them. That, as well as all of the input we got in this first round, all available on the website. But we took all of that, all of those comments we got from you, all of that background data we looked at, and we tried to summarize it into just a few high-level bullet points. So this is very broad, what we heard rising to the top from the community of what they would like about near Southeast and what they want to see. So there's a desire for improvements, especially to the commercial corridors. Evans, again, was the one we heard the most about, wanting better design, improved walkability, and more shopping, dining, and entertainment options. Folks also wanted better and safer mobility options for all modes of transportation throughout near Southeast. More options and affordability for housing, making sure that a variety of people can live here and housing doesn't get too expensive. And then near Southeast has great parks and great trails, so wanting to make sure we preserve what's great about those and improving them where needed. So those are the really high level takeaways, and I'll get into a few more specifics here. As I mentioned up top, tonight's meeting will focus on mobility and that quality of life infrastructure, sort of parks and landscaping. So for each of the topics, we created a vision statement. It's this big chunky paragraph. They're on the website. You can review them and provide feedback to them up there. But we've tried to summarize that into a few bullet points. So this is still quite a bit, but if you look at the vision statements, you'll see how much shorter this is. But this is, for all we heard about mobility, trying to summarize the vision, what people want in terms of mobility. So people would like near Southeast in 2040 to be a place where people can safely get around by multiple modes to lots of local amenities and regional destinations. Sidewalks and trails and streets are all safe and well maintained. Pedestrians are prioritized with safer crosswalks. Bicycling is easy for all ages and riding levels. There's improved transit. We have multiple mobility options that evolve with the times. We have eliminated serious injuries and deaths from traffic crashes and have complete networks that provide vital connections between and within neighborhoods. So that's the vision. Like I said, in the survey, we want to get your feedback on that. But tonight, we want to focus on a few key issues, mainly around how should we make traveling through neighborhoods safer. We're going to be asking about how should biking be made easier, and what kinds of modes should be prioritized on the major corridors in near Southeast. So those are the types of conversations we'll have later in the meeting around mobility. And then quality of life infrastructure, the summary of the vision here, focusing on having healthy, safe, and a high quality of life and resilient environment in near Southeast in 2040. Parks are clean and safe with the appropriate amenities. Trails provide connections and opportunities to exercise. We have climate appropriate landscaping and a growing tree canopy. We manage our resources, our water and energy well to have clean air and clean water. Is a welcoming community that's safe and has access to healthcare and good food, and that we've reduced our impact on climate and adapted to the consequences of climate change. So the key issues we're going to focus on tonight around quality of life infrastructure are park amenities. How can we improve those and improve access? Where should we be focusing on improving landscaping? And how can we make sure that Near Southeast is resilient going into the future? So that's a summary of what we did in phase one. Now I'm going to talk briefly about what we will be doing in phase two. So the goals for phase two, like I said, we want to confirm those draft vision statements that we've put together based on your feedback. And we want to develop the recommendations for the issues that have been identified and the opportunities that have been identified. Some of these issues or opportunities may be more complex, and instead of going straight to recommendations, we will need to develop alternatives, a few different options for how to address them that we will then in phase three bring back to you to evaluate those alternatives. We also want to work on identifying focus areas and transformative projects. Focus areas are locations in Near Southeast that we want to provide more detail and more guidance on. So like Evans Avenue, as I mentioned, has already risen to the top as a focus area where we wanted to make sure that we're providing enough guidance on that area. And there we'll want to identify a few more. And then transformative projects are specific recommendations or projects that we think can make a big difference in achieving these goals. So things that we will want to prioritize to really help accomplish the plan's vision. And then also we want to start getting into those neighborhood specific issues that I was talking about earlier, so that we understand the difference between Washington, Virginia Vale, and Goldsmith, between University Hills North and Indian Creek. We know there are differences and we will need to adjust the recommendations between them. So we want to start getting into that. And then throughout all of this, we want to be clear about sort of how this fits into the overall planning process. So we want to be clear about how we have used what we learned in phase one to craft these questions we're asking in phase two, and how we will use what we got in phase two throughout the rest of the plan. So if that's ever not clear, please ask, because we want to make sure that that is always obvious. So to do that, we're doing a variety of activities similar to what we did in phase one, including online surveys, which have been up for a week or two now on the website. I'll talk more about those in just a minute. We're having 2 community workshops. If you missed the first one, which was last week, the recording of that is up on the website. You can go watch that. We'll have the results of the surveys and discussion from that up on the website shortly as well. We have tonight's workshop, and then we will also be doing pop-up in-person events in the community over the next couple of months. We don't have any of those scheduled yet, but we are working on it, and check the website in the coming weeks to find out where we will be around the community. We also have what we call focused engagement, which, as I talked about earlier, is trying to reach folks who traditionally do not participate in these planning efforts, or that we know we didn't hear from in phase one. So we're putting a lot of effort into that, including what we call community navigators, which will be identifying existing community members that have connections to these groups that we want to reach, and working with them as liaisons. They will be paid a small fee to help us with this throughout the rest of the planning process, to make those connections, build those relationships, and help facilitate that discussion. And then I mentioned the online survey. There are actually 4 surveys divided by topic. There's 4 topic buckets that we've talked about earlier. So there's one for each of those. Each survey is about 20 minutes. So there's a lot of survey. You don't have to take all of them. You can take one or any of them. We'd love for you to take all of them. And you can take them sort of at your own leisure. You don't need to take them right away. These will be up well into April. So you have plenty of time to get to them, cover a wide variety of issues. They are linked on the website, which is denvergov.org/near southeast plan right there on the front page. You may need to scroll down just a little bit, but you'll see an option to take all 4 of those. So that is summary of phase 2. And now we can get to the more interesting portion, which is the breakout discussion. So we're going to break out by neighborhood here. When I open up the breakout rooms, some of you, if you, when you signed up, told us what neighborhood you're from, will be automatically sent to the breakout room for that neighborhood. If you end up in the wrong neighborhood breakout room or want to change for any reason, just let the facilitator in that room know and they will be able to move you. For those of you who don't automatically get sent, please in the chat tell us which neighborhood you want to go to and we will move you into that room. If you aren't from one of these neighborhoods or for whatever reason want to have an area-wide discussion, you can stay in this room and we'll have an area-wide discussion. This will go for about an hour, a little bit before 7:30. I'll call everybody back and we'll just have a brief recap. So with that, let me open up the breakout rooms. All right, and then for those of you that are now still in this room, please, like I said, put in the chat which neighborhood you would like to go to the room for, and we will move you. If you're not sure which neighborhood you're from, we have the map here. Washington, Virginia Vale is roughly Alameda on the north to Mississippi Avenue and Cherry Creek on the south, and Quebec on the east to Glendale on the west. Virginia Village, Mississippi, and Cherry Creek on the north to Evans on the south, Quebec on the east to Colorado on the west. Indian Creek is east of Quebec, Goldsmith south of Evans and north of Yale, and east of I-25 west of Quebec, and then University Hills North east of Colorado and south or west of I-25.
May I be transferred to the University North?
Yes, let me find you here.
Okay.
Let's see. Oh, here. All right, if everyone could just be patient with us for a minute while we sign these. All right. Of the folks who are still in this room with me, if you would like to be assigned to a neighborhood room and you haven't been moved yet, raise your hand and tell me which neighborhood you want to go to, and I will move you. Where we have you? Kathy.
Could you switch me to the Goldsmith, please?
Yes.
Thank you.
Where are you?
I don't know.
Not seeing you on my list here.
I was originally in Goldsmith,
hmm,
asked for general and remembered I wanted to go back to Goldsmith. So I was on a list, I think.
yeah, for some reason it's showing you in Goldsmith, so I don't know why you're still here.
I always call it a game of Clue. So,
Let me try moving you to a different room and see if that changes
Okay.
something.
want me to join
Uh,
Washington, Virginia Vale? There we go.
Okay. Clay.
Hi. Yeah, I don't know if you saw my chat, but I'm at CU Denver in the Master of Urban and Regional Planning program. We're kind of looking at this whole area for a project, but I'm specifically interested in University Hills or Virginia Village, whichever of those you think would be, the more interesting area. If I could join that, that would be great. Either of those.
Yeah, certainly. Let's see. University Hills has fewer people in it, so if you don't mind, I'll put you in that one.
Sure. Thank you. Thank you so much. I really appreciate you letting
Yeah,
us
yeah.
join.
Thanks for joining.
Yeah.
All right. And then who do we have left in here?
Scott, this is Ashley Grace.
Ashley.
I'm happy to hop around if you think that would be helpful, but I don't know if I have that ability on my own.
Let me find you.
Hey, Ashley, it's Josh Phillips is on as well from Highline Canal Conservancy.
Hey, Josh, how are you?
Great, thank you. How about you?
Good. Good. Glad you could join.
Yeah, hopefully some exciting mobility improvements on the canal in near Southeast.
Yeah.
All right, Ashley, I think I made you a co-host, which should give you the ability to jump from room to room.
Perfect. I think I see it. Thank you.
And Cliff, same thing. I don't know if you want to jump around between rooms or.
Yeah, if there's a room that you think could use a little more participation, or I'd be fine doing that or jumping around. Yeah.
Yeah, why don't I make you a co-host as well?
Cool. Thank you.
And same with Heidi.
Scott, I'd be happy to be assigned anywhere, actually. Anywhere you need a little help or.
Yeah, I'm looking at the rooms and it's actually fairly evenly split, it seems like.
Okay.
So yeah, if you guys want to bounce around, if you find one that you want to stick in, that's fine too.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Great. Yeah.
Thanks, guys. All right. So now of the non-staff folks, looks like we have a few left in here. Is that right? So of the folks still in this room, I just want to confirm that you all want to be on the area-wide discussion, because there's not a ton of folks in here. So if you're interested in a particular neighborhood, you probably have a better discussion in one of the specific neighborhood breakout rooms.
Scott, this is Josh Phillips. I am curious actually to learn a little bit more about some of the inputs in the plan process and have maybe some more specific questions. The Highline Canal goes through both Goldsmith and Indian Creek. So I'm interested in both discussions, but was curious to learn a little bit more about the interface with parks through the plan process. So I'd love to chat about that more broadly, if that would be appropriate.
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, if we can't get to that tonight, Josh, I'm happy to talk after this. We definitely want to coordinate with the Conservancy on Canal.
Awesome. That sounds great.
All right, and then it looks like we have John, Kelsey, Molly, and Cindy. Are you all still here in the
Yes, I don't know how to talk to you.
Yeah, also here. And I will just say that I'm Clay's teammate, so also part of the CU Masters program, and I don't live in the neighborhood. So I'm just interested in kind of being a fly on the wall and learning more about the process. I probably wouldn't have much to contribute.
Yeah, no problem. We're happy to have you here. And like I said, you probably see a better discussion if you want to go to one of the neighborhood rooms. And you can just pick one. It looks like Washington, Virginia Vale, and Virginia Village are the biggest right now. So they may have the most robust discussion, or you can go to one of the smaller ones.
Yeah, I mean, you can definitely put me in one. Maybe Virginia Village.
Sure.
Thanks.
In Virginia Village. All right, great. So now we have Cindy here. John or Kelsey, are you also still on?
Yeah, this is John. I'm still here.
Hi, John.
Does it make sense to have so many staff in the same room as just a couple of lay people? Would it be better for us to go into our separate neighborhoods?
Yeah, that's sort of what I'm thinking. Now that we're down to just a couple community members in here, it's probably better if you all join one of the neighborhood discussions instead of just having three of you in here, if that's all right.
Yeah, that works for me.
Scott, this is Kelsey. I actually work with Cliff Lynn, so I'm just kind of listening in. So whatever discussion's the biggest or whatever, you can put me there and I can just kind of get a feel for what's being discussed.
Okay. Put you there. And then John, did you say where you wanted to go?
Indian Creek, please.
Indian Creek.
Yeah,
right.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Scott, it's Heidi. I can't figure out how to move myself, but you could put me in Goldsmith.
No problem.
Thank you.
And then Cindy, did you want to go to a neighborhood?
I'm trying to go to Washington if that's possible.
That is possible. Let me move you over there.
Creep.
All right. So Josh, I don't know if you want to, go to one of the neighborhoods and participate in that, or I'm happy to talk now if you have some questions.
Yeah, if you don't mind, I'd love to chat now. I think that's one of my questions about our engagement with the process, because we have a lot of kind of specific capital recommendations in the plan for the canal and projects we're working on with parks. So if I joined a neighborhood meeting, it would be more to be a fly on the wall and just hear the kind of community priorities. But that was my biggest question, just curious that the interface is with parks as you develop the area plans.
Yeah, we're working closely with parks. We have a bi-weekly.
Scott,
yeah.
Sorry to interrupt. Do you want, I can stay and take notes on this. And also, hi, Josh, it's Liz Palmquist.
Oh, hi, Liz.
How are you? I'm working, Nora's having me work on events for the pop-ups and stuff. So Highline Canal I was going to talk to Josh probably anyway about some ideas, see what they've got going on. So if you want me to stay on and take notes about your conversation or leave or whatever you want.
Yeah, Liz, you can do whatever works best for you. Yeah, if we talked about, when we talked with Nora this morning, we talked about trying to meet up with Highline Canal on one of their cleanup days or something to do something. So we can talk about that, and then you can
drop off when it's, or do you want me to go help take notes in another room?
I think we have it covered. I think we have a note taker everywhere. So, a couple weeks later, Hector went after a member of the 86th Street. I think we're good.
All right.
I love that idea of piggybacking on a stewardship event. I think, I'm always looking for opportunities to bring kind of planning conversations into our volunteer projects, kind of connect those community members to some of the bigger discussions along the canal and in the community as well. So I think that's an awesome idea.
Yeah, so like I mentioned, we're going to be scheduling some events where we're out in the community. So yeah, if we could piggyback on one of these stewardship events, we can come help out and talk to folks and get some feedback, raise some awareness about the plan, and help you guys out as well. That'd be great.
Yep, awesome. Yeah, I wonder, even Liz, as you reach out to Susanna and the communications team, if they'd be interested in doing any communication to our supporters in that area, even to let them know the plan is happening and to speak up for the canal and the process. It's kind of interesting. We haven't really done that before with an area plan like this.
Yeah, I mean, that would be great. Anyway, I just talked to Nora about it, so I'm going to get my thoughts in order, but I think that's an important collaboration.
Great. All right. So back to your first question about coordination with parks. We have a biweekly meeting with folks from parks and our Department of Transportation and Infrastructure and our Office of Climate Action, Sustainability and Responsibility. So we're meeting regularly with all three of those. Our main contact with parks is Mallory Roybal, who's we lost Josh. Is he back? Did we lose you there, Josh?
You did. I think I'm back. Sorry about that.
It's all right. So as I was saying, Mallory Roybal is our main point of contact in parks. She's the parks planner for this part of town. But yeah, we're coordinating closely with them. They've been a big help in putting together these questions in the surveys that we're asking in this phase of the engagement. So yeah, a lot of back and forth with them.
Awesome. Oh, that's great. Have you connected with the trails planner at all? Because I know obviously it's kind of a trail heavy part of the city between Cherry Creek and the canal, so a lot of regional trail connectivity. So Adam Lynn would just be a valuable stakeholder if Mallory hasn't engaged him in those conversations yet.
Yeah, I haven't spoken directly with him. I don't know. I'm not sure to what extent Mallory has been coordinating with him outside of those meetings, but yeah, we'll definitely make sure that he's involved as well, because as you point out, yeah, we have some great trails in this area.
So excellent. And then do you know how long phase 2? I know you mentioned some of the events would stretch into April. How long some of the survey will be open and outreach will be continuing for this phase?
Yeah, it'll depend a little bit on how well it's going, how much feedback we're getting. If we're not getting enough, we'll extend it. But the plan now is until sort of late April at least. So yeah, it'll be through most of April at the very least, if not longer.
Okay. And then my last question, I was really interested in the community navigator concepts, because we're really increasing a lot of our engagement in kind of East Denver, Aurora, and far Northeast Denver, and more of a Latino and Black communities, and really looking to increase engagement in some of those populations. And was just curious, is that a community planning position that exists, or is that more of a citywide role? I'm just not familiar with that kind of function for the city. That sounds so interesting.
Yeah, it's a new program we're starting. We're trying it on this and the Near Northwest plan that's also just started this summer. And so it's a CPD initiative at this point. We would like eventually, if it's successful, to roll it out sort of citywide, and we can have these sort of standing community navigators across the city that we can then tap into for our projects, and other departments could as well. But as of now, it is a CPD initiative. So we're just sort of getting started now on trying to identify who these community navigators in the near Southeast would be and get them on board. They will be, at this point, hired as independent contractors, as sub-consultants to our consultant team. So yeah, it'll be,
Anyone looking at his
it's like 20 hours total over the next year or something. So it's not a ton of time.
You think he was sharing it with
But
some other creep?
it is more time than just somebody participating in the plan would be expected. So we are going to be paying them for that time as well.
That's awesome. Are those positions posted on the plan page?
Not yet. We are just figuring out sort of the recruitment plan for that. So we don't have anything up yet. It'll be hopefully in the next couple of weeks. We'll start sort of actively recruiting for those.
Awesome. Yeah, I'll keep an eye out for that because we are kind of looking to fill some kind of similar community ambassador type positions. So just always good to see how other folks are describing that role in recruiting for that.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, those are my questions. I appreciate you taking a little time to answer those. Liz, great to connect. Look forward to connecting with you on this. I guess I would love to go to the Goldsmith breakout, please.
Absolutely. Thanks.
One of my favorite anomalous neighborhood shapes with the Holly Hills carve out. So it's that is at the canal. Actually, I was surprised we didn't get a shout out on the boundaries, but I guess that's okay.
You're right. Yeah, I should have mentioned that. Yeah, I'll send you over there. Thanks, Josh. Great to meet up, and we'll be in touch.
Yeah, great to meet you as well. No, it sounds good.
Thanks.
Thanks. Have a great night.
Okay, Scott, so if you don't need me to, I'm happy to do anything. Otherwise, I will use this 45 minutes to go start looking at events and intercept survey locations.
Yeah, I think that's probably a better use of time.
Okay.
So yeah, thanks for joining. Thanks for your help last weekend tonight. And
yeah, I mean, this is pretty exciting. So we'll see. I'll turn to that now and spend my time wisely.
Thanks, Liz.
Okay, thanks so much. See you later.
Yeah,
bye.
Bicycling along Evans. I'm like, I would just avoid it myself unless they have some sort of drastic improvement. It would have to include something like protected bike lanes along Evans, especially since we have Jerry Creek, trail right there. So.
Any other thoughts on this one? We'll have the same question for some more streets coming up. Anyone else want to chime in on Evans? Okay, it'll be interesting to see if the answers here differ that much from one corridor to another. So the next one's Colorado Boulevard. Same question though, what type of infrastructure improvements should be prioritized on Colorado? Vehicles, pedestrians, bicycles, transit, other. So we are so far seeing a difference here in how some of it's ranking out. Transit's number one. Pedestrian second, then bicycles, vehicles, and other. While we're waiting for everybody to chime in, I'll just ask, was that you again, Scott, with the similar comment about okay, so more like streetscape elements and those types of things. Okay, well, it looks like transit's coming on top on this one. Anybody want to talk about that? Or, you know, any of the others as well?
Hello?
Yes, hello.
I have to drive Colorado Boulevard rather frequently. And that number 40 bus frequently causes backups, both at intersections and in general along the road. I'm not sure you could do anything about it because the 40 is a rather popular bus. But I know when I hit Evans in Colorado Boulevard, speaking of the last question, that one I'm cautious about crossing because the left turners and such on Colorado Boulevard, I find rather puzzling sometimes.
Okay. Yeah, so it's that the transit needs some improvements because it's kind of hard to use, right? Whereas the street already is accommodating vehicles. Is that sort of accurate to say?
Well, it's just that one bus. It makes frequent stops and cars back up behind it, including backing up into the previous intersection. So cross traffic gets caught, waiting for people to figure out they can go around the bus.
Gotcha. Okay. Ari, did you want to chime in on this one?
Yeah, I would just say I think Colorado Boulevard is a great opportunity to improve bus service. As the previous guest just said, it's a very popular bus line and there's a lot of commercial activity along it. People are constantly driving on it. The traffic is crazy there. So maybe if we could encourage, you know, a little more frequent service with RTD, then more people would take the bus, but having, you know, a little more space for both vehicles and buses might be beneficial. Just a thought. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, let's move on to
which type of infrastructure improvement should be prioritized along Leedsdale. And again, same options here, vehicular improvements, pedestrian improvements, bicycle improvements, transit improvements, or other. And I'm sure Mallory and I have some thoughts about Leedsdale going to high school up there for 4 years. All right, let the last couple of responses come in here. So would anyone like to speak as to why they chose transit as their #1 option? It looks like, again, that came in first priority here, similar to Colorado Boulevard. I'm assuming it's probably for the same reasons, but if anyone would like to speak to that, go ahead and raise your hand. Okay, I see Fred waving at me. Go ahead, Fred.
Right, I don't want you to fall asleep there. Yeah, I think it's kind of the same reasons, at least from my perspective. Leedsdale is really a major corridor for people going to and from downtown on the buses, like the 83 bus. Whenever I ride it to go downtown, it generally has quite a few people on it, no matter what time of day. So, you know, transit is real important along that corridor for a lot of people that don't have cars or don't want to drive downtown and park. And then my second concern was vehicular, and I don't know what can be done. I mean, again, it's really heavy traffic on Leedsdale. Well, it depends time of day, but.
Yeah, I will say I used to take that 83 bus as well. For a while there, I rented in kind of the West Wash Park neighborhood, and I would catch that bus almost every day to come down to the city. So really, I definitely understand what you're saying there. Anyone else want to talk about Leedsdale Avenue before we move on to the next collector, arterial?
I think one reason why I demoted bicycle on this versus other corridors is that it very many ways kind of parallels the Cherry Creek Trail. And so if you're trying to get from Virginia Village to the Cherry Creek Center toward downtown, et cetera, that's better suited through the Cherry Creek Trail. Transit, I also identified as a preference because it's direction in toward Cherry Creek, in toward Wash Park, in toward downtown. And so it seems most suitable for transit, along with having the high school along there.
Great, thank you. Thanks, everyone. So let's move along here. So now we are going to talk about Quebec. So which type of infrastructure improvement should be prioritized along Quebec? So think a little bit about the character of Quebec, some of the land uses along Quebec. And
no, the light right at that would take you
behind the King Supers.
Yeah, from U Hills Plaza to where Einstein Bagels is.
Okay, yeah, right, that light. Okay, yeah, I never go to that light. I tend to find ways to zip across diagonally to Brook Lane and.
Yeah, well, and Brook Lane, getting there on foot is, I feel safer crossing Yale without a light than walking to Brook Street to cross at a light.
Well, I guess what we're saying in reality is that in our neighborhood, we actually feel safer leaving it in a car than on any other mode of transportation, because at least we have metal to protect us if somebody smashes into us. But yeah, but I mean, I think the same thing is like the neighborhood. You know, if you look at Colorado Boulevard south of Evans, there's the light is at Dickinson, the light is at Iliff, and then the next light is at Yale, and the light at Dickinson is the light I use all the time to get out of my neighborhood, but it doesn't go anywhere across. So that's definitely just a 2 Colorado Boulevard light. So yeah, and I don't know. It's hard to say too, because with the whole wide development thing that's going on, that's going to be interesting to see what happens with that and what shows up there. And we don't know what's happening with the 24-hour fitness demolition. Is that, you know, if that's going to be more mall, then it's going to be more access. So it's crazy out there.
Okay, well, I'll go to our next question. So this is, again, the same question along Leedsdale, which I know doesn't touch your all's neighborhood, but if you do drive up north.
Yeah, it'd be silly for me to respond to that because
okay.
I'm never there.
All right, I can go to we can skip through these then, because the next one is Quebec. I don't know if you all would go to Quebec either.
Only crossing Quebec on the bike paths, and the bike paths are pretty good over there. So
okay,
there's a short period where I'm on Quebec between Yale and where Evans turns into Iliff. So I don't know if that's even worth responding to.
Okay. Oh, that's fine. Okay, so just like I have to go back to, we'll move to the quality of life. So this is kind of talking about parks and landscaping. Okay, so for quality of life infrastructure, and what we heard in phase 1 is that people love a lot of the many great parks that are in the near southeast, but maybe some of the current features and amenities in them may not meet all of the needs of the community, and that for some they're not as easy to get to. And obviously in University Hills North, you all are currently about to get a park, but I know you guys don't have one of the parks currently. Yet, exactly.
We have pictures of ourselves being excited about getting a park. That happened, I think, the year my granddaughter was born, and she's 3.5 now. By the time the park gets built, she's gonna be too old for the playground.
Then what we're asking is we'd like to understand like what kinds of amenities you'd like to see in the parks, what would be the most valued, how can we improve access to existing parks, where landscaping should be improved in the area, and then what are the priorities for resiliency. So I'll pull the poll back up. Okay. So for this first question is, which potential amenities would you most like to see in a park near you? So since the park is maybe in the planning phases, I don't know if Jessica has more information on what stage the park is, so this could be a good time to get in what amenities you'd like to see.
It will be kicking off the planning phase very soon this spring. So now's the time.
Yeah. Oh, do I have to go back? Do I have to go back to the poll? Okay. Now I have to figure out how to do that. Where to go? Okay, let's get out of full screen. Okay, no.
So when I'm responding to this, I'm picturing a pocket park. So it's very limited space. I think that the parks that we have in Southeast Denver have great amenities. So that's why I'm only picturing what we might potentially have.
Okay, I can't find a way to get back to the poll now. Okay, wait.
It's okay. You can also just share what your thoughts
Well,
would be too.
for our little park, I mean, our park is going to be so small that I think just from my perspective, same as Jenny's, playground, picnic table and shelters, natural landscaping. I mean, running and walking trail, it's not going to really do much. You're just going to be kind of running around the block.
Yeah.
You know, it's a pretty small park, and definitely not a dog park because it's only a small park, and there's not. Yeah, we certainly don't have room for an off-leash dog park in our tiny park. I mean,
yeah, that makes sense.
So I would say my 3 would be that it's not big enough for athletic fields either. So I would be with Jenny in terms of the pocket park nature, but I would add natural landscaping and public art would be good too.
Okay.
I didn't see on the poll, I didn't realize I could scroll down. I would trade picnic tables and shelters for natural landscaping.
Okay. Okay, so natural landscaping may be above picnic tables and shelters.
There we go.
And I think seating just in terms of benches to hang out in, not Red Rocks.
Yeah.
You don't need a lot of seating.
Yeah.
But
well, that was great feedback. And hopefully you all can participate when they start doing the planning for the park that will be going in.
So oops, I just realized I forgot to hit record. And thanks, Andrew. If you hit that. One of the pieces, and so seeing you all vote along major streets makes a lot of sense from the standpoint of looking at that data and how it's coming out. Anybody have any comments about why you chose what you did?
Yeah, I'll just say, just to echo your point on the major streets, I think the major streets really have a lack of landscaping and tree canopy. And, as we were talking about before, with if we want to try and improve the pedestrian experience,
resistant native plants.
Yeah, great comments. Thanks, Andrew, for talking about those. Okay. We have one more question. Which potential benefit benefits from improved landscaping and green infrastructure are most important. Select your top 3. Reduced flooding, reduced water use, wildlife and pollinator habitat, reduced heating, kind of that heat island effect that we were talking about, better air quality, improved appearance. And when we're talking about green infrastructure, we're talking, just make sure everybody's kind of on the same page with this, is there's elements to adding landscape pieces for stormwater improvements, but also green infrastructure can also be that kind of the tree canopy pieces as well. That kind of goes along with those. So we're seeing reduced heating and better air quality, kind of raising to the top, with reduced water use and wildlife pollinator habitat close behind, and that reduced flooding and appearance, kind of the next piece behind that. That's really, those are some interesting feedback, because typically when many of us in the industry think about green infrastructure, we're very focused on the water, the stormwater benefits of it. But I like where everybody's head is going with. It's kind of those other pieces. The other benefits are more important to you. Yeah. Anybody any final comments on that? And then we can kind of go back to anything we need to for 5 or 10 minutes here.
I'll just say at the Highline Canal Conservancy, we talk about green infrastructure a lot as Denver Water reduces its reliance on the canal for irrigation. We're actually using it for stormwater management in some sections as green infrastructure. And I too find that so interesting that, the primary function is the stormwater management. So it's interesting to hear from some of these community members that you all are kind of seeing those additional benefits as kind of the primary benefit to the community. So yeah, fascinating, really cool to see, and hope to see this section of the canal around Bible Park used for green stormwater infrastructure in the future.
Thanks, Josh.
Yeah, I'll just say that yeah, I think the reduced heat.
Why?
In the COVID response time, my wife and I have gotten to walking down along the creek a lot, and it's kind of remarkable how much wildlife we've seen. Those trails along there are almost, I think they're naturalized. I don't think they're necessarily planned in a lot of ways, like the section in the new part is planned. I think they're just accretion and erosion. It's where people walked, and they've created these. Some sections of it are in kind of bad shape along the creek, but I think improvements to these trails and ways to get on and off from the sides. And also there's some sections of the trail along Cherry Creek, like Cook Park and the Lollipop Lake Park, where there are no curbs and gutters along the street, along those, the river. And so they allow parking on dirt, but there's no control over any way to get across those streets. So there's not much infrastructure tied along there. If that's important, I don't know. We bike a lot.
Park, yeah, at Cook Park, I'd like to see, yes, there's kind of a walking trail, but when I'm walking through there and I can't remember the other street, but the walking trail goes into the playground, but it gets cut off in the playground area. And I apologize, I don't know that. That would be Monaco, and I think it's not quite Florida, or maybe it's past Florida. But I'd like to see the walking trail also just extend on the exterior of the park, very similar to how it is, I guess, on Monaco, if you will.
Okay.
More towards the edge, I guess.
Okay. So we're sort of, Go ahead, Lisa. Sorry.
From what I got on I'll talk real fast. I actually picked dog park, even though I never owned a dog in my whole life. But I do think that, and maybe it's not near me, but I think the all near southeast area could use kind of a more dedicated dog park. City of Chennai is a dog park by necessity, and people do take their dogs and do run them off leash and throw balls, but it's right on Quebec, and it's not really a safe place to run your dog. You know, your dog could get distracted and things like that. So I would like to see in the near southeast at least one dog park.
Great. Yeah, the dog parks, I mean, dog parks are the new spots. I mean, that's where everybody goes to hang out and meet each other now, since you can't go inside anywhere anymore. So we were sort of creeping into the access. When you think about your nearby parks that you go to or would like to go to, what prevents you from getting there? Or what's the biggest drawback to use the parks?
I don't know. We got a lot of parks around us. We do a 6-park tour on a bike because we can hit 6 of them within 15 miles, and we got such good access to them. The Highline hits a lot of them, so
I don't think it's difficult to get to our parks. So.
I don't either.
Okay. So if
the question either, because I do think that at least there isn't any of those things that makes it harder for me to go to a park. I can't sign on to any of those.
Okay.
So
really,
that's a good thing though.
Yeah. So it sounds like from the last question, if we could amenitize them and give you just more diverse reasons to use the park and enjoy it, and some maintenance pieces and access pieces that Dean talked about.
Like Cook Park needs a lot of infrastructure improvements. The sidewalks are asphalt. They're all broken up. Maggie, I feel sorry for you with a broken foot. It's got to be hard to walk around there. And it's a beautiful park. And so I really think that just really infrastructure improvements, more natural landscaping, I think would go a long way, because we are very lucky here in Indian Creek to be close to many parks.
Can you say Canadian goose?
Tons.
Oh yeah, I see all sorts of little ducks.
I can't tell you how many duck pictures I have. I have millions of duck pictures.
There is a section of Cherry Creek Drive from Cook Park, where Cook Park ends to Quebec, that there's no sidewalk and no way to get through there at all. So I think that there does need to be sidewalks along Cook Park and Lollipop, or what's the other park? It's
Garland Park.
Garland, on the opposite sides.
Right.
And on the park sides, they're just not, there's walkways through them. So once you're there at the corners, they're fine. But along the streets that access them, there's nothing.
Okay. What's our other response? Is it another amenity that someone's thinking of, or an other challenge?
I would like to see at Cook Park, and I guess more opportunities for seating there. I love Cook Park, but I do find it kind of challenging to walk around because there is pavement, or not pavement, but asphalt, and it's just kind of terrible. And it doesn't feel, well, I'm used to kind of also Washington Park, where I know I can walk a certain length. If I'm trying to get 2,000 or what, that's so easy to do. Whereas Cook Park, it just seems kind of jagged, if you will.
I just want to jump in real quick, Maggie, and let you know that some improvements for Cook Park will be starting in a couple of months here and be finished. It'll take about a year, but paving and some new, I believe, shade and seating are in that. So
great.
Yeah.
How
just
about
the time
Chennai
for my
Park?
foot to heal.
Yeah.
How about Chennai Park?
There are some improvements coming. I don't have a timeline on that, unfortunately.
Paul has said that there is a Indian, landscape architects who is very interested in working on Chennai
Yeah.
Park.
Yeah,
and
she
trying to
works.
bring the cultural element to it.
That is something we are trying to convince parks of. You know, extra plant and foliage is always a task for them to keep up. But yes, that is something that is still a possibility.
Cool. That's, y'all are also, it's almost like I paid y'all for segues. That's perfect. So let's talk about landscaping.
Was there someone else who chose other? It's got 13%. So there must have been.
Yeah, I chose other as well. I would kind of echo what the last respondent said, that it's sometimes the parks just don't feel activated. I guess I could have selected feels unwelcoming. And then in the summer, I would say, you know, sometimes the sprinklers are like going right over the path. And so it's not very fun to get like a face full of recycled water when you're biking or walking or anything. So it's just kind of gross. And yeah, that's it. Thank you.
Okay, and how about anyone else who wanted to share? It looks like in the final result, difficult to walk there turned out to be number 1. Otherwise, we could move on to the next question. Oh yeah, go ahead, Fritz.
All right, I'll keep it quick. Yeah, typically we go to Crestmore Park as our main park. It's the closest one. No, it's outside of the area, but we walk there or bike there, and our choices are Holly Street. For getting across Alameda, our choices are go on Holly Street, which has a terrible and very dangerous feeling sidewalk, or go down to Kearney, or yeah, typically Kearney, and then try to hustle across Alameda when there's no traffic. It just does not feel safe.
Okay, thanks. All right. Councilwoman Sawyer?
Just an update in response to Fritz on that. I hope that you have been participating in the Kearney Street bike lane process, because there will be a safer crossing coming in Alameda when that bike lane is installed. Just so you know, it's on the city's radar.
That's great news. Thank you.
Yep, absolutely. I don't know that it won't be a stop light. I don't know exactly what the treatment will be. Body's determining that now, but just wanted to let you know that that's on their radar, and they're currently handling it.
Okay, all right. Scott, you had your hand up briefly. Did you want to share anything? No, you're good? Okay.
I was clapping for the Kearney Street improvements.
Oh, gotcha, sorry.
Yes, no.
It was a clap, okay. Two questions left. So this one's about landscaping. Where is it most important to add or improve landscaping in near Southeast? Select your top 3.
A while I'll jump on the Nextdoor app and someone's has a photo of like a fox that they've seen in their backyard, or walking along the park. So certainly not alone in that thought. Okay. Anyone have any final thoughts on this question? All right, well, go ahead and stop sharing my screen here. And so we finished right on time. And I think any minute now, Scott is going to be inviting us back to the main room. We're gonna have a little bit of a report out. And so really, I just wanted to just take kind of a moment here and just thank you for participating. I know we had a very small group tonight, and sometimes that's good, but sometimes it's it can be difficult. But I thought the conversation was really helpful to Mallory and I, and Mallory's been taking notes. So these are things that we're going to report back to the project team on, and also some of our partner agencies. So so again, just thank you for your patience tonight. And we look forward to continuing the discussion. As I mentioned, we've got a pretty, as I mentioned earlier, we've got a pretty robust
main room.
Thanks for being here, Sharon. Good to see you.
Yeah, you too. I'll try to sign on Tuesday. I was supposed to be out of town this weekend, but we were supposed to be sleeping in a camper van in Cortez where the nighttime temperatures were 7 and 9. And
Oh,
told my friend I was not willing to sleep in a tin can
yeah.
below 20 degrees.
I love that you were even contemplating it though.
We're gonna go next week.
Strong feelings about the benefits of landscaping?
How about to your health? Just your sense of well-being, you know?
That's true. We didn't have that on the list, did we? But we should know that after the last 2 years, just getting outside and having the mental break.
Yeah.
Hi, everybody. Guess you got wrapped up already. Be calling everybody else back here in just a minute, so just sit tight.
So Scott, I have a question. What's the budget that's been put into this near southeast planning?
The total budget is about $360,000, I think. For yeah, split over about 2 years of planning work.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. All right. Welcome back, everybody. Hope you had good discussions. Like I said before, we'd like to have a brief recap. So if I can have each of the facilitators just give us the most important thing your group discussed really quickly. And then we can all, or let you all get out of here on time. For those of you who are interested in the chance to win a gift card to Target or a local restaurant, I'll put this link in the chat. You can go to enter your email address. We'll have a drawing here before too long and select some winners from that. But with that, like I said, why don't we have folks, let's start with Cortland, do you want to go first?
Sure. Yeah, so I'd say an overall theme from our transportation discussion was that pedestrian, transit, and bike facilities tended to rank the highest when we asked about what improvements are needed. And they did, the top response did vary by corridor. And so there were some corridors where transit was a priority and others where pedestrian or bike facilities were a priority. But vehicles tended not to rank very high in most of the discussion because I guess the streets already do a pretty good job of accommodating vehicles for the most part, the major corridors.
Great, thanks, Cortland. Eric, you want to go?
Sure. I was with Indian Creek and we had a pretty vigorous discussion about Evans being a major east-west corridor and being able to needing to be able to maintain throughput in getting vehicles east and west, but thinking about where and how we could make it a little more humane and a little more pedestrian based in some key places. The Old Rainbow Music Hall was one that was mentioned of what it used to be, and maybe we could find a way to do a little bit more of that. And then of course, because we were Indian Creek, we talked a lot about Quebec and sort of the role of Quebec and how the different sections of Quebec are maintained and look and feel very differently. And there's a need and a desire to make that more of a high character street.
Great, thanks, Eric. Libby, you want to go?
Yeah, so I was in University Hills North, and so we also discussed a lot about Evans and then Colorado Boulevard. And it really seemed like currently the residents feel like it's hard to get out of the neighborhood unless you're in a vehicle. And so finding other modes of transportation, so especially pedestrians or bikes along Evans was prioritized. And then for the parks, since University Hills North currently doesn't have a park, but they are getting one, we kind of talked about what they'd like to see, and they'd really like a park that is for the neighborhood and that they can walk to, because currently there's no parks that are really walkable from this part of the city.
Thanks, Libby. Anthony, you want to go?
Yeah, a couple of really interesting pieces. Just like we were saying, the people-focused corridors was a big discussion, but also I was in the Goldsmith neighborhood. Sorry, just jumping right in. The other really interesting piece, we talked a lot about Yale as part of the Goldsmith neighborhood. One of the corridors that wasn't mentioned in those questions, but Yale is a very important corridor for Goldsmith. And I also want to add in on the park side of thing, when we were talking about the voting of the elements on parks, our voting might have been a little different than most, just because the vicinity to Bible Park and the amount of amenities that are available in Bible Park.
Great, thanks, Anthony. And Jason.
Yeah, great. Thanks, Scott. So I came from the Virginia Village Room, and we had a small group, but a pretty lively discussion, most of which has already been covered. We talked a lot about kind of the transportation piece, and really kind of with a focus on improving pedestrian and bicycle infrastructure, especially along the lines of safety. So accessing parks and resources and improving intersections to get to some of those places. And then switching gears to quality of life. We talked a lot about, adding natural landscaping, improving wildlife habitats and native species to kind of help with some of the water quality issues and stormwater runoff, and to really kind of help beautify the parks in your southeast.
Great, thank you, Jason. And thank you, everyone. That's it for tonight. Thanks, everyone, for joining us. Really appreciate you taking the time and sharing your thoughts. As I mentioned, there are surveys up on the website, denvergov.org/near-southeast-plan. Would love it if you take those. Please tell your friends, tell your neighbors about the plan. If you have questions or comments, there's also a comment form on that website. You can submit those to us. We hope you will all continue to participate in the rest of the plan. We've still got over a year to go here, so we hope you'll stay involved. And we're ending just about right on time here. So thank you, everyone, again. Have a great rest of your Thursday evening. Have a good weekend. Looks like the weather will be getting better in the next couple of days, so we all have that to look forward to. Thanks, everyone. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
Yeah, thanks, everyone.